Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the Woman series. My name is Maimuna. On this series, we talk about everything and anything that has to do with women, from career to relationships to marriage to life to everything a woman goes through in this life. And on this second episode, I have with me Rafiat Akinwande. She is a podcaster and a voiceover artist. She has been married for 5 years now, and today she'll be sharing with us our journey to motherhood, our infertility journey, how she has been coping with it, and how and the effect it's had on her and our marriage in general. So let's hear Rafiat's story. Alright guys, here is Rafiat. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for honoring my call.
I'm
Thank
really
you
happy to
very
be
much.
here, honestly. I'm glad we're finally doing it.
Right, you guys. So we have been doing this postponing because our schedules do not match. And please don't mind the outdoor noise. We're outside as usual. So there's going to be a whole lot of dazzles in between. Anyway, so let us get straight into it. So you got married at 23.
Yes, I did.
Now, at 23, a lot of us were still trying to figure out life. I especially was still trying to get a job, get that clarity and all of that. But you chose to, get married at that time. Like, what was that decision-making process like for you?
Okay. First off, I think I won't be able to fully explain why I took that decision if I don't go like a bit backward. I sort of met the person I was going to get married to at 18.
Wow.
I met my husband at 18, so he was at the time, from the get-go, he made me understand this is for marriage.
What he wants to do.
Yes, I mean, this is for marriage. I want to meet your parents. I want them to know that we're dating, all the works and stuff. I mean, that kind of a little bit could also be because of we both have Muslim and Islamic backgrounds. So he wanted to meet my parents, and he met my parents, and I told him, I'm not ready to get married right now. He was like, okay, yeah, I understand that, but I need your parents to know. So, and at the time I was also trying to get admission into school. Finally got admission at 20. And even at 20, he was like, okay, do you think you're ready at this time? I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm ready at this time. Because as at the time, I was also struggling to find out who I was, why I am the way I am, all of those things. At the time that I was 23, I was in 400 level at the time. I had figured out who I wanted to be, figured out what I wanted to do career-wise at the time. And I knew at that point that I was ready. And yeah, this might sound very, very somehow, but at the time also sexual urges were rising, and I didn't want to do that outside of
marriage.
Exactly. So I said, you know what? I have the person is right there standing waiting. I spoke to him. I'm like, I think I'm ready. And that was it. That was how we made that decision.
So you've been married for how long now?
5 years. We've been married for
5 years. 5 years. And what does your husband do?
My husband works with one of the armed forces. Let's leave it like that.
Oh, so how has that been in 5 years? Okay, so I understand that most of these armed forces uniformed men have to go for weeks, go for months, and like they'll leave you in the house. How has that worked for you for 5 years?
Before we got married, right? As soon as we wanted to start our relationship, he made me understand the intricacies of the job, the fact that sometimes I'm not going to always be there and everything like that. And at the time, when you're in love with somebody and you really like them,
it wouldn't really mean anything.
Not like it didn't mean anything, but I was willing to overlook it because, to be very sincere, my husband is an amazing person, and the only thing that could have been like something I didn't exactly like was just his job. So I asked myself, am I willing to let this person who could potentially be the best partner at the time for me, just because I don't like his job. So I sort of said, okay, you know what, I would get used to it. But man, when we got into it,
but then you've been able to find ways.
I've been able to find ways, but I'm not going to come here and say it's been all easy. There are times where when he has to go. I mean, last year he was away for like 6 months. I cried. There were days where I cried. There were days where I screamed. There were days where I almost didn't even know what I was going to do with myself. There are times like that, coupled with the fact that we are staying in a place where I don't really have my family and friends around. He's like my only family and friend. So it's like just you whenever he goes. Exactly.
All right, so let's move on to why we're here exactly, so this doesn't become too long. So you have been married for 5 years, and is no baby yet.
Yeah, there's no baby yet.
Okay, so do you want to walk us through? I don't exactly want to say why, because you and I have already talked, and I have like small background knowledge of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But at what point in your marriage did you realize that, okay, it is not as if God is withholding? Is there something? When did you think, okay, now I think I need to go to the hospital, and how did that whole process go?
Year two. Second year of marriage was when I felt like, okay, something is wrong. I mean, the first year of marriage, like I said, I was still in school.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, it's even good. Let me do and finish school first.
And no
you
child,
know?
don't
But even
disturb
at that, a lot of people were still like, hey, even if you're in school, we'll put this and this in place. But I really didn't even want it to happen at that time. So year two, where I was back home waiting for service, and it wasn't happening. I was like, wow, you know what? Let's go and check ourselves to just be sure that we are fine. Let's go and make this check happen. And we did do like routine checks. And when we did all the routine checks, the doctor was like, oh, everything is fine. Oh, there's some other tests that you'd have to do. But based on all of these tests, I don't think there's really anything extra. I mean, you guys are still really young, just 2 years. Just take this, and everything will be fine. And that was it. And at the time, I also was going to go for service. So it was also like, was also going to be apart again. Since they said there's nothing wrong, let's
just free.
Yeah. By year 3, it became, and I was back home now fully.
Okay.
It now became what's happening, like, and we're both very sexually active. I mean, we're married. But it was like, so what's happening? Like, what's the problem? Yeah, every month comes and nothing is happening. You're like, what exactly is happening? We still went again for some other forms of tests, do all the whole test over again. The doctor says, oh, there's some more tests you have to do, but I don't think you should go there. Based on all of these tests, I think you guys are fine. Just need help here and there. Take these drugs, blah, blah, everything will be fine. Okay, do this. We did that. And that didn't happen as well. That one was even weird because I had to get like almost 5 times. I kept getting pricked because they were doing pregnancy test after pregnancy test, and it was, the doctor was saying, oh, there's a weak pregnancy, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. I'm just like, this
so
is
your
just
hopes
crazy.
were like going up, down.
I'm telling you,
down.
I mean, it was just like, what kind of mind, I don't want to use the word, but what kind of mind stuff is this, So that happened. But then and we also took a break after all that roller coaster. We said, you know what, no stressing about this anymore.
If
we
it
take
happens,
a break.
it happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then year 5, which is this year, we decided, okay, you know what, let's one of our uncles actually recommended for us a gynecologist. So we went ahead to see the gynecologist, and when we went there, the gynecologist was like, all these tests, you guys have to run it all over again. And I'm just like, why do we have to do this? So we ran all the tests again, but this time around the doctor wanted us to go a step higher. Since we had run all these previous tests before, he wanted us to carry out something called HSG. You can Google it.
Okay.
HSG is basically like a sort of an exam that is done to check out what's up with your uterus.
So it's like
fallopian.
an invasive exam that going all in.
I don't want to scare anybody. It's invasive.
No, I want you to be as real as possible.
It's invasive. It's painful. I do not wish it for my enemy. It's literally the most painful thing I have ever gone through in my life. It is so painful that my husband, who was in the lobby of the lab, heard me scream and he started to cry.
A whole uniform doctor.
See, it's that bad. And when we did that test, they discovered that I have something called a unicornate uterus. Now, what that means is that my uterus is shaped like a banana. Like I said, you can Google this stuff. And I have just one fallopian tube. And guess what? That's how I was born. And because of that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to be able to, have a child. And even if I do get pregnant, I would need to be like really, really monitored so that I don't sort of miscarry the baby. And honestly, when we got that message back, I was more happy than sad, which is weird.
Which is weird.
I was happy because first off, there was something. Like
you knew there was a problem to now hold on to.
There was. It didn't look. I mean, we've heard all sorts of excuses, all sorts. In the 5 years that I and my husband have tried to have a child, we've heard so much from there was even a time somebody said maybe somebody used my pants for something. I'm like, that's not true.
Okay.
That's not true. I don't dry my pants outside. Even when I was in uni, I did it. Even now that I'm married, I don't. So please, this your theory is rubbish.
It can't work.
There are people who said, oh, maybe did your husband promise somebody he was going to get married to the person, and then now the person
so everybody,
is not.
there was spiritual.
There were a lot of, oh my God, there were a lot of spiritual up and downs. There were a lot of pressure from, and the pressure doesn't come in the form that I think people think that pressure come. To be fair, my in-laws are not saying, oh, have a child, or you're barren, you're this or that. It's more like they call you and they say, oh, Rafi, how you doing? How is everything? Or let's say, for example, it's my birthday. Oh, Rafi, Baoni, happy birthday, things like that. And then they go, ma worry, by this time next year, you want to my birthday,
I
blah,
can't
blah.
relate.
And I'm in my head, I'm like, okay. Or they call us for our anniversary in the house and they're like, oh, happy anniversary, guys. Don't worry, by this time next year, it's not going to be only you guys.
So there's a constant reminder.
Exactly.
Every time these people reach out to you.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so bad at some time. I had to confide in my husband. I'm like, this is getting me very worked. I'm now getting anxiety when phone calls come.
So when they want to greet you, you're ready.
As in, I'm already anticipating, and he was like, you know what, don't worry. And I think he did help to just like speak to his own side of the family. I spoke to my mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke to my mom as well. Yeah, my mom still tries as much as possible to put in the extra once in a while, but she's also like backpedaled. But getting that diagnosis for me was like I said, it was making me a lot more happy than sad, because I knew there was something, and now I knew that if I ever did get pregnant, I needed to be extra careful. And now I was sure that we truly needed help, because before going for all of these tests and stuff, it just felt like, why am I doing this? Like,
because there was nobody saying this is what we saw.
Exactly. Like every time we do, they say you're fine, no need to go. It was like, why are we doing this? But now there was a reason to do this, and I felt much more happier about that. Like the procedure I had to go through, HSG, I'm sure that a lot of women go through it in Nigeria, but guess what? I didn't find any information.
Anything exactly, and
I was trying to Google up before the day for the procedure. I was trying to Google up to see if there was a Nigerian experience, and all I could find on YouTube.
Women outside the country, they are more open to sharing stuff like that. Exactly.
I'm telling you, and I'm like, why? And it's one of the reasons why when you reached out, I wanted to do this. I mean, some people will say, oh, you're putting yourself out there, it hasn't happened, wait for it to happen. And I just think to myself and say, we always say wait for it to happen, wait for it to happen. What about people who need to hear that there are other people just like them?
That need hope. Exactly. All right, so in all of this, the only thing I can, not like I'm not listening, but one thing I keep drawing myself back to inside my head is how much toll this has had on your, I don't want to say mental health, because that's like going deep, but like emotional, I don't know, should I call it stability or something? Because I can imagine when you have your hopes up here and tomorrow is dashed, and now you have this condition that would 1 in 4. So that means that if we pack 4,000 women here, you'd probably be, no, I'm serious, you'd probably be the only person.
I probably will be. And the funny thing
condition.
is, some people might even be out there having this and they'll never know.
And they will never. But you've been quite open about the whole journey.
Yes.
So how has this, what effect has this had on you? I'm focusing on you because, to be very honest, I care about your husband. He's a good person. He makes me happy. But in this discussion, he doesn't matter, because as it stands, it is you that you are focusing on with the treatment and everything. So how do you feel? That's the easiest way to ask.
How do I feel?
How do you feel? I mean, beyond the whole putting up a strong... every time you have to go, every time it comes to you, that, this is what... How do you feel?
That's the funny thing, right? And I know some people will say maybe she's faking it, but the truth is, there are times where I'm sad, right? But 70% of the time, I'm happy. And I know it's weird.
Like you've decided not to let it.
I think that I don't know where this trend comes from, honestly. I don't know where this trend comes from. But most of the time, I mean, there was a time where people were like, Rafi, you have this situation, but you don't look it. You don't. I'm like, do you expect me to be crying every day? Do you expect me to be sad every day? And I think because of the kind of person that I am, I don't know how to explain this aspect of it. I'm this kind of person where I can tell things. So I don't know how to put this thing in a way that will not sound, okay, let me put it in a way that's coming to my head. I get told things sometimes even before they happen. Now, I'm not saying I dream and I see it in my dreams,
Yeah.
but sometimes like a silent whisper just drops in my mind. And every time that I thought of getting married and everything, every time that my mind drifts to kids, I always hear that silent voice that says, you're going to have kids, but you're going to have to be very patient. I'm just positive in knowing that it's going to happen. But I need to learn this patience that Almighty Allah wants to teach me.
Wants to teach you with this.
So that's it.
Wow. Okay. I have a question about faith, but I want that to be like the last thing we'll talk about. Okay. So I know I said I didn't care. I do not care about your husband. I do. I was lying.
I know you do.
but let's just quickly go to him fast before moving on. How has he taken? I know that like from the onset, when they did not exactly pinpoint what the problem was, it might have been easier to say, oh, we're just waiting on God. God has not done it. But now that there is a definite direction that, okay, now this woman gets, do you understand? Now this woman body the thing day. But how has he taken this new revelation? I'm not talking about before now. I'm talking about this new revelation now. How has he taken it?
I absolutely understand you. When we got the results back, right? We were together when the lab guy explained what was happening to us.
Okay.
And I got into the car. I mean, the whole procedure was also very, very painful. So he had to sort of get me food and everything. And when we got home, I didn't register in my head what was happening at the time. But he was just like, trying to make sure I was fine, food-wise and everything. And when we finally sat down to talk, I just broke down. We had finished praying Maghrib prayers and I just broke down and I started crying. And he was like, why are you crying? I'm like, look at what they say I have. It's weird. Of all the women that you could have picked for marriage, as fantastic as you are, you had to pick this one. And he was like, no, like, don't do that, like, don't do that to yourself. Like, I'm here for the long run. Like, okay, he said something, said, if we flip the situation, what would you have been doing? Would you have said, oh, I'm packing my bags and running? So he's always been a source of strength. Even before we got a diagnosis, now that we have a diagnosis, he's still very, 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 very supportive. He kept saying, I'm just really worried for you. And I'm like, oh, are you not worried for yourself? Because, I mean, you can always have options.
He said, now drag.
Yeah, he said, no, it's not like that. He said, because I know that this whole thing has taken more toll on you than that. So honestly, he's been very supportive. I mean, I make jokes about the situation where I'm like, look at me, I'm so special, I have just one family. And he laughs and he's like, you're not even serious. Do you understand? In fact, left to him, we could have kept it just between us, but I said this is too big a thing to keep between us. What if there's somebody out there, in our family members who could actually help us with a solution? So I was even one that encouraged him to say, what, let's share this with our family. Like he always says, even people who don't, like people who have kids will end up dying. People who don't have kids will end up dying. At the end of the day, the final destination, we're all going to die. So there's really no need to stress yourself over things like that.
All right, so as it stands now, are you like going for treatment already?
Well, as it stands now, we're not doing anything.
Why?
That's the truth. We're not doing anything right now because treatment methods are a bit expensive, and we don't have that kind of finances right now. I mean, treatments. Recently I joined some setting program like that, and like some fertility program like that and stuff. And that signing up for it alone was like 12,500 naira
per month.
No, it was just for a 3 weeks course, 3 weeks thing. Apart from that, that's just signing up. And when you sign up, there are this kind of fruits that you have to buy. There are drugs that you have to buy. All of the drugs put together, rounding up to about 30k. There are a couple of things I needed to do and stuff like that, and I just realized, why did I pay for this 12,500 again? Because I don't even have the money to do all of this, all of these things, So honestly, we've not been doing anything right now because the fertility whatever available to us is going to be something that's going to be capital intensive, and we don't have that much capital because we've used our funds for so many other different things. So for now, that's the truth. We're not doing anything.
Okay, so okay, let's move to finances now that you have mentioned it. I still have to ask again, how does it make you feel knowing that money is plays a big role, a big factor in all of this, in you getting maybe like treated on time and increasing your chances of having kids? So how do you feel now knowing that money is, I want to say, well, that's what's holding you back?
kind
now.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel very sad, and most times I feel disappointed and betrayed by my own body.
Wow, that's
When I
big.
think about it, that's what I feel. I mean, the most natural thing that your body is supposed to be able to do as a woman is to make a baby. At least in my own opinion. I don't know, other people might have their own definitions. So I feel very betrayed, and also because I'm going to brush on this a little bit.
Okay.
I've always been that person that was very, very cautious as regards not having sexual relationships outside of marriage and things like that. Like I'm a, I don't know, for lack of a better word, good girl. And yes,
Yeah.
growing up at my younger years, I felt like, I've been a good girl, got married to the first man. I mean, I should sort of be rewarded for that, you know, in my head. But I've realized that that's not how life works.
Yeah.
You don't get rewarded for being a good girl. So either you want to be good because you're good, or you want to be bad because you're bad. Just choose one. There's nobody get rewarded for anything.
For anything.
Life can decide
Just
to
live your life.
Exactly. Life can decide to do whatever it takes with you. And I get a bit triggered most times, maybe when I see when I read stuff and they're like, oh, this one has done like 3 abortions. I'm like,
Yeah.
and they're still able to give that to 5 children. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't even like to watch movies like that, because I get very angry and I get very sad about it. And the funny thing about the money thing again is even the fact that, say for example, we decide let's do IVF. It's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
Say I start taking supplements or whatever, it's a 50-50 chance. So whatever it is, there's no guarantee.
There's no 100% this is going to work.
Exactly. If there was like a guarantee now, we'll probably say, okay, you know what, let's gather all our funds together. Since once we do it once, it's not, there's no guarantee. Like, your body is a very complex thing. You could use all the supplements in this world and it might
And then nothing would happen. You kind of like pointed out that you've been able to keep your parents at bay to an extent, as in both your parents and your husband's parents as well. Well, you mentioned the moms anyway, so you've been able to keep them at bay.
Because it's only the moms that are distressed.
Okay, only the yeah, but then okay. So is this you saying that apart from those people you have managed to put aside, there are no other people who are just calling you randomly, say like friends, aunties? Because I have aunties that call me to remind me that they want to attend my wedding.
Wahala.
So do you have people like that?
I don't have aunties calling me, thank God.
Okay.
Friends. None of my friends is stupid enough to do that. It's just one person, and I don't exactly even see her as friend, kind of like that.
Okay.
And she did mention, oh, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And I think after having a conversation with her, she sort of realized that the conversation, I didn't take it well. And I was sort of very angry about the way she approached me with the thing and everything like that. And I spoke to my husband, and my husband was like, oh, but you know, like, this person probably thinks you guys are closer than you are imagining.
Yeah.
And she's probably coming from a good place, so don't take it that way. Most of the time, it's just me. Sometimes maybe when I go online, friends that got married after you, younger ones that got married after you know, things like that. That's when it hits me that, oh my God, Rafi, this hasn't happened for you yet, you know. But apart from my family kind of pressure and everything, and even them, like I said, is very subtle. I have been lucky enough not to have people banging down my door to say half
that kind of thing.
Yeah.